Nina. Dr. Jarrod Adams is here for your questioning today. So he's going to tell you, something he wants you to know about himself. And then we'll start with Mr. Gray on questioning and go around the room like we have been doing, if that's okay. All right.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm Jarrod Adams. I think most of you in the room know me, have worked with me at least for a little bit, some of you a little bit longer than others. We won't say how long. If you want a more formal introduction, I'll stick around afterwards because I know you guys have a ton of questions, and if you're like the principals, they told me this morning, let's just get to the questions. We know you. So, Jeff, if you want to go ahead, I'm more than happy.
All right, given probably what Vicky's going to ask, I'm not going to ask that question. So, but I want to piggyback off of her question before she does it.
Okay.
Given the restraints we have on payment of our teachers, how will you work to recruit and retain the best and brightest for our teachers, for our system? Adding to that question, same question for teachers of color. How will you recruit and retain them?
Well, Jeff, working in the Human Resources Department for the last 4+ years, I've made it an effort of mine to go out to colleges and recruit through college fairs. And since COVID, I've sat in on multiple online Skype sessions where I've worked with the EPPs to talk with the students coming out of their colleges of education. And I think that's been very successful in that. And I think this will go back to how to retain these people. A lot of times you'll talk to brand new teachers, and in the interview process, when you interview them, they don't know how to talk education. They want to talk in broad senses. So my advice to these students coming out looking for jobs: yes, we know you like kids. We know you want to work with kids. We understand that. We know you like to teach reading. But for Washington County Schools, what we want to know, tell me what your ELA literacy block looks like. How are you going to teach problem-solving skills? What's writing? What's your writing area of your ELA look like? And when I started posing these questions to them, I backed up and said, look, I'm not asking you to answer those right now, but what I need you to understand is we have a high level of expectations in Washington County Schools for the teachers that we're bringing on board. Some of you, if I've hired you in the last couple of years, you've sat in when we signed that contract, and I say to you, we do really well here in Washington County. We're better than most school systems. If you want to look at us compared to other county school systems, you pick the metric. You want to measure us ACT scores? We'll do that, won't we, Erica? We're better than you. Sorry, we're better than everybody else. You want to look at 3rd grade ELA scores, 8th grade science scores? We're better than most. And I tell them we do that for two things. We hire good people and we train them up. I think ultimately teachers want to feel supported and they want to feel knowledgeable about what they're able to do in the classroom. It's not been, depends who you ask, you might say it's a long time since I've physically been in the classroom teaching. I don't feel it's been that long. It's been a while. But I didn't really know exactly how to do what I was supposed to do. We do a really good job in Washington County of supporting our teachers. I know we use the team model of evaluation and things like that, but if you've noticed in the last 3 or 4 years, we've really tried to get our principals and administrators to be more instructional leaders, to guide you, to coach you. We want our teachers to be better. So how do we retain really good teachers? Is we make them feel valued. We train them up so they feel knowledgeable about their craft. And I think that goes a long way for retaining them. Now recruiting and even applicants of color, I've been to TSU in Nashville to recruit. The majority of our applicants come from this area. They're coming from ETSU, they're from Milligan, Tusculum. We do our best to hire the best people. And we go out of our way to try to recruit people of color, of other origins, whether it's Asian but ultimately we're looking for the best. And we can only hire the people that come to us. We do our best by going to these fairs and try to recruit them to come visit us. And that's how we do it. So I hope that answered the question.
Thank you.
Next.
All right. Two mentions.
Yes,
Jonesboro
sir.
Middle. I have more of a middle school directed question. We have a lot of programs in place for our K-4, K-5. We have a lot of programs in place for 9-12 students. I think the feeling that we have in our building, and it may echo throughout the county, is that we want to feel more supported as middle school and middle school grades. And what would you bring to the table as far as giving us opportunities to kind of level out the playing field for this transitional age in grade levels, and how can you bring teachers into that discussion to have their voice heard?
Some of the things that I've thought about, a couple things, and I'll try not to ramble because that's a good question. It leads me to a lot of different trains of thought. In terms of what we're doing in middle school, I think really what we need to be doing, since especially for science and social studies, there's no real curriculum and you're not getting a textbook and you're not getting this and that. What we need to focus on is the expertise in our house. We have really good teachers that know the content. And I know my background, in my first 3 years of teaching, we were a whole language school. So we didn't get a textbook. It was, here are the things that you can use, make your own content, make your own curriculum, and let's go with it. And that was, coming right out of school, that was a little daunting. But then when I talk to some people, how freeing that we can make our own content. And what I mean by that is, we'll pair you. If you need social studies help, Jeff Gray is really good at social studies stuff. What if we look at forming a team of people to become our primary source of content for those grade levels and subject areas that we don't have materials for? Why not create our own materials? We're smart enough, we can read the standards and know what we're supposed to be teaching, but let us create our own stuff. How that works, we might form that committee and work on it in the summertime. Your time is valuable, and my goal, I think, would be to try to find some way to provide stipends for people who are willing to do that. Because we can find money for things to do when we need them. But to me, the thing we're supposed to be doing is instructional stuff, right? We're supposed to be working hard to teach kids. And if we can find money to pay for this, surely to goodness we can find money to pay for a group of professionals to come together and create content for 7th and 8th grade social studies, for that matter. Some other ways to get the teachers, since we've had the technology, and if this steps on somebody's question, I apologize. But 3 or 4 years ago, we had teachers that were very averse to using technology. Some people, they couldn't check their email. They were very uncomfortable getting on Google and doing any of that stuff, or loading stuff into Google Drive. One of the, and I don't want to say benefits, but one of the things, the positives that's come out of COVID is we're all a little more tech savvy than we were. So why not, if we're going to have a PD day, why not form PLCs where all the science teachers in 6th grade across our district, they meet together online and talk about what they're doing. I also am a big fan, especially in 7th and 8th grade, of those content area teachers having some type of interaction, whether it's a PLC, it's a committee, whatever you want to call it, with the high school teachers. Because I think that's important. If I'm an 8th grade math teacher, if I'm reflective in my practice, and I know we are in Washington County because we talk about it all the time, we want to get better. If I'm teaching my 8th grade math students, and then I talk to the 9th grade algebra teacher, is there a gap? Am I missing something? Hey, when the kids come to me, they're really, really good at this, but I really want this from them. If they could do this a little better. Why throw it in the dark? Because we've all had that thought. When you get that group of kids from the grade below you, what did they do last year? They don't even know how to do this. So if we can get that connection where we're talking to one another, I think that will be powerful work for what we're trying to do.
A superintendent is expected to handle a variety of responsibilities. Which do you feel most qualified to handle and why, and which are you least comfortable with and why?
Most qualified situations, I think from my personality and my strengths, I think I have a really good grasp on taking a strategic view, seeing what the actual issue is and making plans, pointing us in a direction, and moving forward, making a decision and going forward. You know, as far as least comfortable, you know, Erica, in my role, I've had a lot of different things thrown at me, and you know, uncomfortable. I don't feel I've had the reason to be that way. You know, things have got to get done. You know, if you're asking me what I'm most uncomfortable with, I think charging, being out front and saying, let's be instructional leaders, but you guys are your content knowledge people, right? If you said, Jarrod, lead us on math, I'd be like, grab you by the hand and say, come on, Erica, let's go together. You know, I'm not going to say I'm up here as a content expert. You know, do I know content? Yes. Do I know good teaching? Yes. But my style would be to rely on the professionals. You know, I'm not going to tell you, hey, here's how you teach 4th grade ELA. You know, we can sit down and talk about the standards and bandy about how we think we need to do. But again, we've made it our purpose to find good people, hire good people, train good people. So I'm going to rely on you guys, for better or for worse. I mean, I hope that answered your question. So I just think I'm going to rely on the teachers, because you guys, again, are the content level experts. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's your turn. Sophie Bledsoe, Asbury Optional. As superintendent, you would have many voices trying to persuade you what is best for our county. What process would you use to determine what to implement in the best interest of the system as a whole?
Very data driven. My personality is to build consensus, but I'm always going to do what's right by kids. So when you bring something to me, I want to see data and tell me how that's going to be a positive for students. And to me personally, it's instructional first. So if I have to start prioritizing things, it's going to be what instructionally is going to have the most benefit for our students. And building consensus, I think, is a strength of mine, because I tend to relate to people and can be empathetic and try to get people to understand different points of view. My background in special education, that was almost a necessity. A lot of you have sat in IEP team meetings with me and seen that process where it gets awfully uncomfortable because this group wants that and this group wants something different, and to be able to put that together. So building consensus, I think, is something that we would look to do. And I think all that feeds into another one of my strengths. I tend to be decisive. Once we've talked about it and we've come up with a plan of action, I want to implement that plan of action and go. Evaluate it as we move along, but I think it's vitally important that we do something. We can sit and talk all day, have multiple meetings, but if we've come to what we feel is the best way to go, then we need to just go ahead and do it. And if down the road we say, oh, we really should have went this way instead of that way, okay, I don't have an ego in this. We'll back up and go the other way. It's not about me, it's about the students. So,
this sort of piggybacks off of yours, whereas you were saying there's so many different things you're going to hear from different areas. Well, if you based your information that you've heard from teachers and administration, what would be some steps you would take for improving our school system to meet students' needs, just like you said is the most important?
right. Here's my thought process on this. We really have to do a better job of getting the information, getting the opinions of our teachers. And how's that going to look? So, you know, I'm not giving you lip service for that. I'm sure everybody says you want to hear from the teachers. But here's what my expectation is. I'm going to have a leadership team in the school system made up of our administrators and our CO staff. We're going to meet to make decisions, to plan a course of actions. Now, how does that involve the teachers? My expectation of the principals is that they will have strong leadership teams in their schools. And And how am I going to check that? I've been checking that. As part of our evaluation process, we sit in and watch principals lead their leadership teams. They're going to have to be able to explain to me who's on your leadership team, why is this person on your leadership team, and what direction are you going. So how this will look is each principal, building level principal, will take something to their leadership team and get their opinion. You guys will come to a consensus. Then the district level leadership team will come together, and everybody will get their say about what we think we need to do, what direction we need to do. And from there, we'll build consensus. Now, and those of you who know me, you know I'm nothing but frank and honest with you guys. When I talk about building consensus, we've got to move, right? There's an issue. There has to be a decision. Sometimes that's really going to be great for everybody. Sometimes it's only going to be great for maybe 60, 70% of us. The expectation is, though, if everybody's voice is heard, and we've come to a consensus, we've made a plan, we have a direction, we all get on board. Not to play the woe is me card, but if you guys had any idea how many things I had to do that I was just like, man, I don't think I agree with that. But I had to go do them because somebody else told me to go do it. I went and did it. Because ultimately, when everything's said and done, you have to be a team player. That's just how this is going to work, because if we don't, we'll become mired in indecisiveness, and we'll never make a decision, and we'll never go forward. And if we're going to go forward, we got to make decisions. We have to take risks. We have to stick our necks out a little bit. We also have to be humble enough to say, well, we really thought that was going to work, and it didn't, but we're going to try something else. Who has the music question? I heard there's a music question. You guys are, it's probably somebody in the back. I better talk faster so that easy.
Sulphur Springs School has a question. Johnson City Schools have announced that students from surrounding districts may attend their virtual learning academy for free. This could cause Washington County to lose students. How do you plan to compete with Johnson City Schools and surrounding districts in this aspect? And what do you think about continuing the virtual learning?
Well, we already have a virtual school that really serves our 912 population. The last thing I think Washington County Schools wants is our kids to go somewhere else and to do that. And I say that for a couple of reasons, and one's kind of a snarky, funny thing, but I don't want them going somewhere else, and then when COVID's over, they come back to us and we're like, what did they do? I'd rather, I'm not a control freak, but man, I like to have my hands on what we're doing and what our kids are learning. So if we see, and I know right now we have so many kids on virtual right now, at least to the end of the year, I know we have plans to survey those parents and those students and say, hey, when things are maybe back to normal in August, how many of you are coming back? And if we see that there's a great number of our students who are wanting to stay virtual, then I think it's incumbent upon us to develop something that we can do that, because it's about kids, but you talk about education, and kids sometimes equate money, and we need to make sure we keep our students home. Mostly because I know we do good work with them, and I would rather us be doing their virtual learning than somebody else. But that's that would be my desire and my expectations. We would devise some type of way that we could keep these kids virtual. Now, if you had to follow up and said, now, Dr. Adams, what would be that way? That's where you guys would come in. We'd have to figure that out. Again, I don't like to take no for an answer if I think we're doing the right work and keeping our kids here and doing that with them. So the things that I don't like, the two phrases I don't like most of all, and I said this to the county commissioners earlier today, I don't like, well, we've always done it that way, and I do not like, it is what it is. I always turn that around, and I like to say, it is what you make it. So if we've got an issue with our students not wanting to be here because they want to stay home, then I think, surely to goodness, with the amount of brain power in this room right now, and these rows and back there, surely to goodness we can figure out a way to do that. Because you know what? I have faith in you guys. When the chips are down, you guys have stepped up. One of the county commissioners today told me a story, and I'm not a big storyteller, but he talks to people all over, all these different school districts, and he said the consensus by far is when it came to virtual learning, Washington County knocked it out of the ballpark, head and shoulders above. And here's what I told him. I said, you know why? Because while all these others, you saw whole school systems, oh my God, we can't do it, you know, it's just too much. I said, yeah, it's tough. Our teachers, it's not been easy, but you know what? We put our heads down and we did it. We didn't cry about it. It was tough, but we know what's important. We did it for our kids. And he just looked at me. He said, that explains it. We're resilient in Washington County. I mean, I've been here in the school system since 1999. Just like everybody else in this room, you've had opportunities to go somewhere else, but you stay. And why do you do that? You're loyal to this school system. You know what we're doing is the right stuff. Is it perfect again? No. Could it be better? Yeah. Would it be helpful if we had a little bit more trajectory and a little bit more of a focus on exactly how we're going to do what we're going to do? Yeah. But we're pretty good here. And I applaud you guys for that. You know, it's easy for me to sit here and talk about your and accolades and talk about how well you've done and how hard you worked and how you put your heart and soul into what we did. But that's on you guys. That's not on me. I'm happy you did it. And better than that, the families are happy you did it. So I'll try to get off my soapbox. Am I talking too fast? Somebody told me I talked too fast earlier today. I get a little passionate. I tend to talk a lot, really fast. So, anybody
I'm
else?
Sandra Hughes from Sulphur Springs, and it kind of piggybacks on keeping kids inside of Washington County schools. When communicating with all stakeholders, what is the key to establishing good public relations?
You have to be honest. You have to build relationships. And honestly, just in the communication piece, you have to have something that's solid, that's consistent communication-wise. You know, one of the things we looked to do was even to use the band app to where we were all trying to use the same thing, because the parents would call and they'd be like, well, you know, my kindergartner's over here and they're using Remind, and my middle schoolers at Jonesboro Middle and they're using this, and then the high school is using this, and I'm getting 3 different text messages, and then that 202 number comes in that school's out, and then I get that. So we're trying to streamline that. Communication is key, but we need to make sure, again, it's streamlined because it becomes frustrating. But when you talk about getting all stakeholders involved, you have to be honest. You have to be willing to listen. You have to try again to build consensus. Most people just want their voice to be heard. And so many times, that's where the level of frustration comes from, because they're shouting, hey, listen to me, and nobody listens. I think most people who know me know that I'm a really good listener. A lot of your administrators call me all the time, somebody to listen to, and they just bounce things off of me. They just want to vent a little bit. I mean, I don't judge them. I just want to help them. I said that today to our principals. The thing that gives me the most pleasure in doing my job is when I've helped somebody else solve a problem or get something done. It makes me feel good. So I'm like, call me anytime, because if I can help you, I feel good about that too. So, and I think, you know, back to your question, being able to relate and being honest and compassionate, empathetic but not sympathetic. So.
Hi, Daniel Mitchell, 3rd grade, Grandview Elementary. What would be your basic framework in your education plan to guarantee success across all grades?
Well, you know, Danielle, my background is in special ed, so I always talk about equity. Equity doesn't mean things are equal. It means you're giving everybody equity, access to what's going on. So I think that would be the first thing. We want to, you know, you talk about personalized learning for our students, and I think that's something important to know. And I think how we're doing things in Washington County, where we're really making sure our teachers are using small groups and grouping their students purposefully, deliberately, so that they can focus on the things they need. I think that's the foundation, is in the classroom. We build that up and we build that out so that we get that equitable education for all our students. I don't want to tell a story, because I promised I wouldn't tell stories, and I want to get to more questions. But have you guys ever seen that poster about equal versus equity? And the kids standing all by. I said that to the county commissioners today. You really thought I was Confucius. They were like, whoa, I've never heard that before. But that's true. sometimes things are fair, sometimes they're not. But Danielle, back to the heart of your question, equity means that we're doing what is necessary for each individual kid. If that encompasses the entire classroom on that given day, that's great. If it means you're going to have to really small group everybody and get that concept, that's great. But we're looking to build lifelong learners, kids who have a trajectory to not only get out of high school, but to get out of high school with a plan, whatever that plan is. So I hope that answered the question.
Thank you. Amber Haney, Jonesboro Elementary. I have the music question, but I'm not going to ask it.
Oh.
What is your number one concern about public education in general and for Washington County?
That's a tough question because, you know, immediately my mind goes to money. You know, we don't fund special ed. We don't fund all these mandates from the state, from the federal government. But I think that's too easy. That's an out. We don't have enough money, you know, so what does that mean? We're just not going to work hard. We're just not going to reach kids because we don't have enough money to do it. I think honestly, to address back to the money, I think my biggest issue is that people do not understand that this is a profession. We're professionals in here. I've got 10 years of school. I don't know how many you all have, at least 4, probably 6. Some of you might have more than that. You're professionals, and sometimes we're treated like babysitters. You know, we don't get enough support sometimes from certain parents. We don't get enough support from the people in the community. But that's on us. We've got to project that we're professionals. We know what we're doing, right? You don't go to a chiropractor when your car won't start. You go to the person who's the professional in that. The same way, if you've got a digestive thing going on, you don't go to the dentist. You go to the person who knows the digestive stuff. And I think, you know, that specifically in public education, I think is that to where it's almost like teachers are taken for granted. You know, a lot of parents got to have kids back in school, and I get that, and there's a part of me that wants to do that. There's also a part of me that worries about our teachers. And I think that sometimes they lose sight, people lose sight that we're humans, that we're professionals, that we know what we're doing. So I don't know if you boil it down to one word, to answer the music question, R-E-S-P-C-T, right? But Aretha Franklin's not who I'd be listening to. It'd probably be the Rolling Stones. And if Candace Bolas put that question, tell her I buy her lunch and she can text you Foo Fighters. Okay?
Well, Vicki Jones, Fall Branch, and like Jeff said, he took my salary question, and then she was going to pass on the music, so I thought, I'll go with the music question, which was, if I came to your office to talk to you, what would be playing on the radio?
Well, I mean, that's a loaded question because if you know me at all, I love music. So I'm a moody guy. So, you know, if it's just a normal, typical day, I really like the Rolling Stones. You know, if you're into music, I really like the Struts. It's a new rock and roll band. I like Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats. I like the Foo Fighters. I like Kings of Leon. My dad, who's staring down right now, says if I don't mention Waylon Jennings, I've seen him in concert. Swear to goodness, I've seen him in concert more than anybody else I've ever seen in concert. I've seen him in concert 5 times. One time, not to get off track, we went to a festival. I saw Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, Hank Williams Jr., Willie Nelson, and Waylon Jennings all in the same thing. And I also saw some people drinking stuff out of milk jugs, sliding down the mud with no shirts on. But I was 14. I remember that. You know how things stick with you? Some things you can't wash out of your mind. I'm sorry.
With a funnel and a tube?
Yeah.
Jarrod, I was late to the party, so if anybody else back here wants to jump in a question first. Okay. So I'm just curious, what do you think has been your biggest challenge in your current position, and how do you feel? How do you overcome it?
You know, Jennifer, good question. I have a lot of roles. You know, one of the bigger challenges right now is our bus drivers, especially with COVID. They trend a little bit older, and so a lot of them are scared. A lot of them are scared to be on the bus. A lot of them are scared to get the vaccination because they don't know what it's going to do, and what they want is just to be safe. So we're doing the best we can with that. All I can do is give accolades to Tony Roberts and Lynn Archer and the guys up at the bus garage. They're on the road. They're doubling up. They are doing a fantastic job up there. That's my biggest challenge, and I'll be honest with you, I don't have an answer for it because we need more bus drivers in that regard. But when everybody's back, we're pretty tight. We're pretty caught up with that. But just right now, Crockett's on a virtual schedule day, mostly because we have bus drivers quarantined. So that's problematic. So that's a big challenge for me.
Okay.
All right, thank you, educators, for coming. This concludes our question and answer session. And we've got about 30 minutes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.